I need the slash. You're right. Okay. So there it is. It says data HPC is a directory, and it exists here. Okay. So we are logged in to the Palmetto cluster, and we see a bunch of stuff when we do that. We see our username here. It tells us where on the cluster we're logged in. This is actually a computer on the cluster called user001. And there's this tilde here that's sort of cryptic, but we'll come back to that. There's also a $sign, and whenever you see a $sign on the Unix terminal window, it generally means that it's waiting for you to type in a command. Okay, and we refer to this as the prompt. So we're in the Palmetto cluster, but we need to figure out where exactly we are in the Palmetto cluster, right? What's our location on the Palmetto cluster? And we'll type in a command to do that called pwd. Pwd stands for print working directory, right? And that tells you where in the file system you are. And when I say file system, I mean a collection of files and folders, just like you have My Computer on Windows or just Computer on the Mac, right? So this is where you are, and this is referred to as your home directory. Why is it not just /home? If it's your home directory, why is it just not /home? Or why is it? Because there are several users in the Palmetto, right? The home directory is not the /home directory, but it's a directory within that. And you are always landed on your home directory, which is /home/your username. And we want to have a look at what's in this directory. And when I say directory, remember, directory and folder mean exactly the same thing. So I want to see what's in this directory. And how many of you can tell me the command to do that? Yes? Yeah. ls. ls stands for list, and it lists whatever is in your working directory. All right, and here I see a bunch of things, but most of you, if this is your first time using the cluster, you'll see only two things. You'll see the data HPC in blue, perhaps, and you'll see the data HPC.zip. What's the difference between these two things? Right, so data HPC.zip is a zip file, and data HPC is the contents of that zip file after it's been unzipped, right? And one of these is a file, and one of these is a folder or a directory. Which one is the file? Data HPC is the file?
Oh no, it's the folder.
Yeah, it's the folder. Data HPC.zip is a zip file, and data HPC is a folder. But let's say you didn't have a colored output, right, that differentiates between files and folders. You see that everything in blue here is actually a folder, and everything in white here is a file, and the green thing is something else. But let's say you were working on a black and white computers, you're in the 80s for some reason, and you want to be able to differentiate between files and folders in the output. How many of you know how we can do that?
Flag.
Yeah. So you can actually modify the behavior of commands that you type in by providing something called flags or arguments or switches. And you'll see these terms being used interchangeably. So we can modify the behavior of the ls command by providing the L switch or the L flag or the L argument. So here we have ls minus L. And remember, there needs to be a space between these. And that does a whole bunch of things, but what lets you differentiate between files and folders or files and directories is the very first column here. If the column begins with a D, you know that that item refers to a directory, and if the column begins with a minus, you know that it refers to a file. And these are the only two kinds of things you can have on a Linux file system, are files and directories. Okay, everything on the file system is one of these. There's actually a nicer way to do this. And let me clear my screen because you see my prompt is all the way down there, and many of you might not be able to see it. To do that, I type in the word clear. And I'll use another switch here called ls minus F, and this is case sensitive, so it has to be capital F. And that's somewhat different from ls, and you see how it is, right? Can someone tell me what the difference is? Yes?
Gives you extra information at the end of folders?
Yeah, so what it does is it just puts a slash at the end of every folder. So it's easy to see which one of these things are folders and which one of these things are files. Is that clear so far? Is everyone able to follow along?
All right.
Any questions? Okay, so we've been working now in our home directories. We know we're in our home directory. And now we want to start working in the data HPC directory because that's where all the interesting stuff is, right? So we want to sort of change our directory from our home directory to the data HPC directory. And to do that, the command is cd. Cd changes your directory from wherever you are to somewhere new. And cd expects a directory that you need to go into. And so what are we going to provide to cd right now?
Data HPC.
Data HPC, right? So let's go in the data HPC directory. And you see that changes your prompt just a little bit. You've gone from your username at user001 to this new location, data HPC. How do I confirm that I've actually changed directories? PWD, right? And you see that now you're inside your home directory still, but within that home directory, you're in the data HPC directory. All right. And how do I have a look at what's in here?
LS.
There we are. And so now, obviously, the contents of this directory are new. Some of these are directories, and some of them are folders. Right. So let me clear my screen. ls-f. Okay, so just a few tricks. If you want to look at the contents of North Pacific jar from here, what are the steps that you would follow? Raise your hand and answer. I want to have a look at what's inside North Pacific jar. Yes? CD into North Pacific jar. Okay, but that's a really long name, so I don't want to have to type all of that in. I'll use a trick called tab completion. In which I will type in the very first few characters of North Pacific Gyre and then hit the tab key. Right, and that will auto-complete it for me. And so now I'm able to CD into North Pacific Gyre very quickly. Of all the things that you learned today, if you haven't heard of tab completion, this is the thing that will save you the most time. All right. So whenever you have the opportunity to use tab completion, take full advantage of it. So we're in North Pacific Gyre right now, and our second step is to ls. So there's a single directory here with some date, and we can cd into it, again using tab completion, and we can list the files here. Okay, so without looking at your screens, how many of you can tell me if I type in pwd what my output would be? Yes.
That file, 2012 something.
Is that all the output is going to be? If I type in pwd, is this the output that I'm going to see? 2012 minus 07 minus 03?
No, you will see from the first like
Okay.
home slash
Okay.
your username slash the
Okay.
data something and
Yes.
then slash this.
Right, that's what I'll see. You see that my location now is, I'm fairly deep in the file system. I've started from home, my username, data HPC, North Pacific jar, and now I'm in this directory called 2012-0703. Okay, and now I want to jump from this directory back to the data HPC directory. Okay, how many of you can tell me how I can do that? For those of you already knew, don't tell me, but if you didn't know, can you guess how I can go from my current directory, which is this, back to the data HPC directory?
Back directory.
BC.
BC, no, unfortunately that won't work. Okay, it will, but it's something absolutely unrelated. By the way, if you're stuck and the shell isn't responding for some reason, just hit Control C, and that will give you back control.